guys, I'm Caroline Lancaster, and today I'm going to be talking about two important components of agriculture, soil and tillage practices. Can anybody tell me what they know already about soil and tillage practices?
Yeah, I knew a few different things just from class last year, like strip tilling and stuff like that, and how there's different kinds of tilling. Basically, I guess you might be talking about that in a couple seconds, but just how there's like different farmers kind of sometimes have different preferences, I guess.
Yeah, there's three main types of tillage I'm going to talk about: conventional, conservational, and no-till. If you talk to anybody, each person has a different preference. My preference is personally conservational tillage, and today I'm going to talk about a few basic characteristics of soil and these different tillage practices, and then at the end you guys can figure out which practice you prefer. So first, what is tillage? It's basically the preparation of land for growing crops. Tillage is used for three main purposes: to prepare a seed bed, to control weeds, and to incorporate crop residues and waste. It prepares a seed bed by chopping up the dirt and giving you a more applicable area to sow your seeds. It controls weeds by mixing the weeds that are there down into the dirt, so they basically die, but they add organic matter to the soil. And it incorporates the crop residues and the waste from the previous year by mixing up the stalks and everything left over into the soil. So, some basics about soil. It's comprised of minerals, air, water, and organic matter. There's two parts to it: pore space and soil solids. The soil solids are minerals and organic matter, and the pore space is air and water. You can define it as an unconsolidated mineral and organic matter on the Earth's surface, which is used as a medium for plant growth. Does anybody know the 5 soil forming factors? No? Okay. Well, it's parent material, climate, topography, organisms, and time. These 5 things define the soil you're going to have. Parent material affects it because you could have a soil made out of limestone or shale or granite. Climate affects it because if you have a more tropical climate, you're going to have a different soil than you would have up here in a more temperate climate. Topography affects it because if you're at the peak of a mountain compared to the foot of a mountain, you're going to have different soil textures and properties. Organisms affect it because if you have some soil that nobody's really messed with, it's going to be a lot different than soil that's been cultivated for hundreds of years. And time affects it because if you have a soil that's 5,000 years old, it's going to be a lot different than a soil that's 500 years old. The basic soil horizons are the O, A, E, B, C, and R. In agriculture, when you till, you focus on the O and the A horizons because those are the horizons you're actually disrupting with tillage. And these are the horizons that have most of your organic matter. Next, we're going to talk about organic matter and water holding capacity. Organic matter is added to the soil through the different organisms, through the remains of those organisms, and it's basically any carbon matter that comes from those organisms. It adds essential nutrients to the soil, and it also affects the water holding capacity of the soil. And the water holding capacity is the total amount of water a soil can hold at field capacity. So this affects the amount of water a crop essentially gets, and then that will affect your yield. And so tillage affects all of these things differently. And the 3 tillage practices are conventional, conservation, and no-till. Conventional tillage is when there is no crop residue from the previous layer left behind. So that means if you grow corn the year before, you're going to harvest it and then completely till under your leftover corn residue. This has the highest level of soil erosion because the soil is just like crumbly and waiting for the rain to come wash it away. However, this mixes the organic matter and the nutrients and fertilizers you add more evenly to the soil. And this has the smallest soil aggregates, so the soil clods are going to be a lot smaller with conventional tillage. And then this is, you can't really see it, but this is conventional tillage. It's showing that all this residue is being tilled under into the soil. Next we have conservation tillage. This is when at least 30% of the crop residue from the previous year is left on the soil surface. This has less soil erosion and nutrient runoff than conventional, but more than no-till. The organic matter and nutrient fertilizers are somewhat mixed throughout the soil. It's going to be mixed where you actually till it. And this has larger soil aggregates than the conventional tillage, but they're still going to be smaller than the no-till. And this is showing they're only tilling where they're going to plant. They're only tilling where they're going to plant their seeds. Last, we have no-till. This is where you leave at least 70% of the crop residue from the previous year on the surface. This has the lowest amount of soil erosion, but it normally leads to the highest amount of nutrient and fertilizer runoff because you're not actually incorporating it into the soil. It keeps your organic matter at the surface of the soil. Many people will think this has the highest amount of organic matter, and it does if you sample the top inches of the soil, but if you go deeper, it has basically no organic matter. The fertilizer and the nutrients are normally not mixed throughout the soil, and this has the largest soil aggregates. So if you dropped a clod of dirt from conventional, conservation, and no-till into separate pitchers of water, this one would take the longest to break apart compared to conventional, which would take the shortest amount of time. And then this is no-till. You can see they left the corn from the year before, and then they planted the soybeans straight into it. And now you guys get to pick what you think, and then you can share. So does anyone want to share what they chose?
I like the conservational practice.
Why?
I thought it was a nice balance of what the other two, no-till and conventional, and I think it's a pretty safe route, honestly.
Anybody else?
I'm on the same page.
Thank you.
First one to raise his hand goes first.
One much of a race there.
So I'll wait for you to introduce me.
Feedback for improv.